Hello, and welcome to another episode of Faces of Phyla, a podcast where we discuss phage technology and acne. I'm your host, Yug Varma. I am a PhD from Johns Hopkins and the founder of Phyla. I've been really passionate about phage technology for, 20 years now, and I work on phage technology in the microbiome for a living. With me today is Erin Nesbit. Erin is an extremely experienced industry professional who has worked on every facet of the aesthetics industry. She's been a licensed educator since 2008, and she has helped countless estheticians with education and their practice, and really helping them figure out what is the best recommendation for their clients. She's currently director of the Skincare Factory, which is based in Arizona, but can be accessed online throughout the country. It's a great platform for estheticians to share their knowledge and the value of professional skincare products with their clients. Welcome, Erin. It is so good to have you on.
Hi, Yug. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited for this.
Awesome. So let's start with the sort of area of aesthetics. How big is acne as a category of clients for estheticians?
Well, I would say that acne is probably one of the top reasons that most of our clients come to us. I mean, if they have great skin and they're not suffering from anything, they tend to kind of skate through life without having to maybe go to an esthetician or a dermatologist for that reason. So I would say it's probably one of the top reasons, not just for acute, situations, but even long term. You have to build the loyalty, the trust. It's an emotional situation for some clients as well. So it's a huge, huge part of our practice, I would say, as an esthetician. We have to speak to clients about all the aspects of it. So it's not just, in the treatment room, it's at home. And I think it's just probably one of the biggest areas that we see clients for, and one of the most satisfactory once you be able to treat it and you see these results with them.
I can definitely see that because, acne, like you said, is probably one of the initial conditions people will come to an esthetician for, and especially when they're young, because, so many teenagers suffer from acne. And it also, I think, gives estheticians a big opportunity to build trust with their client, because if they solve this really kind of important problem for their client, that builds trust for the future. And then probably instills a lot of loyalty and bond, sort of cements that relationship.
Right.
Um,
Definitely.
Now, you're one of the most experienced and qualified people who sees almost every pro skincare product on the market. You've had the opportunity to sort of play around with phage technology and Phyla
Mhm.
for a few months now. Tell us your thoughts on phage technology.
Yeah, it's newer technology. It's something that I was slightly familiar with, like microbiomes and things like that, but it hasn't really been introduced in skincare that I've seen. So at first, sometimes you see new lines and you think like it's another fad, but when you really look at the research science behind it, it is very fascinating. With the phage technology, it's selective and how it treats acne, how it can, kill some of the what used to be P acne, but now is C acne. I wanted to point that out because I know a lot of estheticians often learn it as P acne. So, for those of them who do not know, it is the same bacteria. But just the interest in that, it is so plentiful on even healthy skin and how the phage technology can work with that. So I think I found it useful and very fascinating. I love the study, as you know. I think I've commented on that with the use of the different Fitzpatricks and for the blind study, because the research and education behind it, I think, is so important to really have a very well run study to have the correct results. Oftentimes, different companies, I've seen a lot, I've had plenty of product knowledge classes with all different brands, and they come in and make claims, but when you really look behind it, you don't see the care and dedication and all the intricate details and the correctness of the study that Phyla did. So I really feel that it's a good breakthrough, and it's going to be great in the toolbox for many estheticians to be able to use. I think once they start to learn what it is, how it works, and what the results are for their clients.
Yeah, it is a new technology, and I think the benefit there is that we've used all of the insights that we've gained over the past, I would say, 4 decades of acne research, of microbiome research, and just learning what happens on the kind of microscopic level, both with the bacteria, the microbiome on our skin, but also the skin cells themselves and all the different layers of skin tissue that are involved with acne. And so having the opportunity to develop something new, a new technology for acne, we've been able to leverage all of those, newer learnings. Whereas, with a lot of technology like you've got salicylic acid, you've got benzoyl peroxide, or antibiotics like doxycycline, even Accutane is about 40 years old. And, you obviously see innovation come out, but not to this extent. Um, Zooming out a little bit, tell me a little about the impact of microbiome science on skincare. I mean, I'm sure microbiome research has been in the news for a while. And I think it's piqued the interest of not just estheticians, but also their clients who probably come in and are curious about certain products. So tell us, what do you think about microbiome technology in skincare in general? Have you seen a lot of products that truly leverage this technology?
I could say I have not seen a lot of products that are leveraging the technology, which is what makes Phyla so unique and so great for the industry. The effects, though, and the impact that microbiome I think will have is now we're starting to learn and from kind of, kill all the bacteria and keep the healthy, whether it's with antibiotics that treat, for acne or for other things. I think derms and doctors alike are kind of fading away from prescribing antibiotics so often. And I think the general population understands why, the effects on the gut health, the homeostasis of the body and the skin and everything that goes along with it. So I feel like we're kind of in this era of skin ecology rather than correction. And we're respecting the microbiome rather than killing all the bacteria and just getting rid of everything and then dealing with the aftermath later, because long term we have a lot of recurrent situations, rebound, situations where we have rebound acne. It comes back. They can't sustain on some of these harsher actives that they're prescribed. So I think it's a really great part of what it can do for aesthetics and how we can use it, not just, like I said, acutely, but long term. It's something that is going to be great for all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you touch on some really important points because acne is a chronic condition, right? It affects us for months and years. And it's really important to have a companion product that addresses your acne over that time. And although there are a lot of products on the market that are efficacious, they are, they can have some serious side effects and serious safety concerns. So, for example, there's a lot of redness and irritation and dryness that people have to contend with, but sometimes for, a large part of the rest of their lives because these products can be quite hard. Tell me about the esthetician's experience with Phyla so far. Have they found it to be kind of gentle on the skin? How have the results been?
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest effects that I've seen that people are surprised about. I mean, a lot of times I have some clients with PIE, the post-inflammatory erythema, PIH. The redness is definitely an issue. I've seen that subside tremendously. I love that it does have the encapsulated. It's only 0.5% of the salicylic acid. One reason is because it is effective. Another reason is it kind of the client and something that they've heard before in terms of what they're used to. So it's not something completely new. So we kind of have that in there. And then we can kind of go into the other technology, which is the phage that's really doing most of the work. So we have a little bit of both. But I've had clients that have seen a great reduction in red with acne. I've seen it in especially in earlier grades of acne, maybe 1 and 2 with closed and open comedones, like teens and young adults that have it. I've seen a great reduction in that as well. And they've actually loved the fact that it's not harsh. It restores the balance. They can utilize it and implement if they want with some other treatments that they have. So it's not like we're wiping out everything and starting all over. They can kind of implement it with what they have going on. And it's just been a really great product I've seen great results with so far. And I'm excited to see what it has in the long term too.
Amazing. Thank you for that. I
Mhm.
wanted to go back to something that you had said earlier in terms of, acne being something, and even skin health being something that a lot of clients are, and, just the general average consumer is worried about for the long term. What are some of the challenges with long-term management of acne, both from what estheticians see, with maybe customers coming back repeatedly and saying, "Oh, I thought I had a handle on this, but now I don't," and then
Mhm.
customers, wanting obviously the acne to go away forever.
Right. I think long term, not just education, but care is important. We have one set of clients that's forever there and they're going to come back and see you and they know what they went through and they never want to go through it again. So they continue their care and they're very strict and great about it. But then there's another subset of clients that kind of get rid of it and then they're, they kind of forget about it and then they come back, and then it comes back and now they're here again. So they want to know why. And they kind of cycle through, the world like that where we have to treat it. And sometimes they want to do harsher treatments. So I think that the use of this, being able to sustain it long term, where you don't have to, go back and get these big aggressive treatments all the time is something that is wonderful, because the long-term health of the skin, it's not just us as estheticians and educators and dermatologists and doctors alike. I mean, the client has to do most of the work. So here's a tool that they have that they can use, long term sustainability and consistency, and it's going to restore that balance and really help the microbiome. And we talked about it before, how it can interweft and kind of stay there for a longer time and help them long term. I think is pretty great. So.
Amazing, amazing. Now, phages, like we discussed, are a new technology for acne.
Mhm.
Um, as an educator, I want to kind of leverage this and bring this front and center. How would you explain phage technology, what it's for, and how to use it?
Great question. I think explaining it to just the general client, I would explain it as, sometimes I'll use some of the rainforest kind of analogy. It is like a rainforest, or it's basically your skin's home. I mean, the microbiome is where, that's the environment that your skin is in. Do you want it to be in upset and disarray and constant, fluctuation, or do you want it to have homeostasis and balance and, kindness, gentleness, repairing the barrier and such like that? And that's what phage technology can do. It doesn't just go and kill everything inside, the house or the rainforest. It doesn't burn everything down, I think, as you said before. But and then we have to rebuild it, and later on you might have a active growth of something else. So you want to have something that's going to calm it down, but long term. So basically the house is the home of the skin, and you want to um, keep it balanced, keep it nice, and get rid of the bad acne the bacteria that you don't need, and kind of balance it, just like hydration, just like anything else. You want to kind of like, um, get the water balance up, get the oil balance down. You want to have the P acnes down, but you want to have some. You don't want to completely wipe them out and then possibly have an environment where something else could come in and invade and cause more disaster. So
Yeah, and for those who are wondering what the rainforest analogy is, I'll quickly go over it.
thank
So
you.
it's one of my favorite analogies for explaining the microbiome. I see it as this invisible rainforest on our skin, and it's invisible because the trees of this rainforest are made of bacteria, fungi, and viruses. Collectively, these microbes form a community that we call the microbiome. So when we're healthy, your microbiome may look different from my microbiome, but when we're both healthy, our microbiomes are in a kind of balance. Um, when we have a chronic bacterial disease like acne, like even eczema, what happens is one bacteria grows out of balance and overgrows, causing inflammation, causing a lot of sort of unrest and disruption. And so if you came from a state of balance and you were healthy, then the way to go to kind of get rid of your acne or your eczema or that kind of disease is to go back to a state of balance. And in acne, we see exactly this. We see C. acnes overgrowing. And like you said, I think that was a really important point, which is that we're not trying to wipe out the C. acnes and just push it all the way out. We just want to take it below a certain inflammatory threshold so it's not causing an imbalance, and our immune system isn't throwing out inflammation to get rid of that. So it's really important where phages are a natural and very, very kind of elegant solution to this. I say natural because a study showed that healthy people have plenty of phages that kill C. acnes, the acne bacteria, but people with acne are actually quite deficient in it. It's rare to find these phages on their skin. And so the idea is that 15% of us get no acne during their lifetime. 85% of us are kind of stuck with it at some point in our lives.
Mhm.
What we've never been able to satisfactorily explain until now why those 15% don't get acne. It's kind of a mystery. But the fact that these people have high concentrations of phages naturally living on their skin is, I think, a powerful indicator that the phages might be at least part of the puzzle where they're, stopping the C. acnes from overgrowing and taking over. And that has a beneficial effect where they don't see acne, they kind of skate by just looking great.
Mhm. Correct.
Lastly, I wanted to talk about a focus on home care because I think estheticians have such a big role to play there. And it's really important as well. Now, Phyla is a great maintenance product. And, one thing we didn't talk about that I'd love for you to touch on is that Phyla can be used on its own and is very powerful on its own, but it's also a great adjunctive therapy if you're on prescription medication or, you're taking something that a doctor has asked you to try. It's great to
Mhm.
pair that with Phyla because Phyla doesn't get in the way of any of these mechanisms of action or these medications from acting, and it can be a great supplement. So I'd love for you to
Mhm.
give us a little bit of your perspective on that, and then also kind of comment on Phyla as a maintenance product for acne and in home care.
Okay, great. Yeah, an excellent question. And I think it's super important for people to be aware of how adjunctive it can be with other technologies and other things in the toolbox. Because we often do have clients that come to us and they are going to a dermatologist and they are on a spirulactone or a doxycycline or a retinol or, possibly even an Accutane that they previously used or are using. And we're very limited sometimes with a lot of the actives that we have and a lot of the products that we have. So Phyla comes in right there and you can use it with that. You can use it for pregnancy. You can use it on lactating moms. And you can use it also during, any treatment of doxycycline. And as we talked, even with the Accutane treatment, which is kind of unheard of. Normally, we're kind of like, we don't treat anybody with Accutane, and derms tend to kind of give a go-to of a Cetaphil or a CeraVe. And I get that. It's because it doesn't harm, and it's pretty safe. But Phyla comes in where you can use something that's actually going to benefit the skin. It's not going to just kind of be, just complacent and not do anything. It's going to give it something back for the long-term health of the skin. So I think it's an excellent tool that we have there to utilize with anything. We could do our treatments with it. We can go in and do chemical peels. We can do some microneedling, nano. We can do, microderm if we want to. Potentially even laser treatments can be incorporated into it long term, with acne scarring and post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation and things like that. So it being able to be utilized in such a vast manner is almost unheard of. And I think we need to congratulate the fact that you have that product on the market because it is really impressive and it's really useful for us. And not only when we're treating it, but also long term. So after they get off of any of these, more aggressive treatments, then they can continue to use it. Whereas a lot of time we kind of, have that big bang for our buck right there. But then again, they have that rebound inflammation, rebound, breakout. So it's just very useful that we can do it in so many aspects. And it's vegan as well, which I want to point out because there's a lot more of people with food allergies and food concerns and different requirements that you have to adjust to, and you don't want to be so limited. So this is like really all around just a great product for a lot of that. So
Great. On that note, I will let's end the podcast. Those were all the questions that I
mhm.
had for you, Erin. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and being on this podcast. We really appreciate it. And to everyone else, we will see you shortly for another episode of Faces of Phyla.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.